everybody, it's Aluna Michaels, Esoteric Astrologer, telling you about some information for July 2021. So, big news everyone likes to hear is, people get into Mercury, that Mercury has gone direct already, the end of last month, end of June, but it's starting to pass new territory as of July 7th. So, yay! That means your minds are really fresh and just ready for all of that inner deep dive you do during a Mercury retrograde, to be able to bring that forward and really clear, and it's just kind of a reinvigorating kind of feeling. So again, that happens on the 7th. People worry about Mercury retrograde unnecessarily, but it doesn't go retrograde till the end of September. Again, it does it 3 times a year for about 3 weeks at a time. So that's that. An interesting thing to talk about is Venus and Mars are both in Leo, and for most of the month of July. And as they're traveling together, first of all, Mars is your desires and Venus is what you love. And Leo is so much about unabashed joy, It can also be the ego and the will. So it's going to be good and bad, right? So there's a lot that can be done, meditating on your deepest joy and what you feel passionate about in life. And hopefully, your life is getting a little bit more back to normal, being able to see people or do things or think about the future and in a way that makes you feel like there's a future. Then, now this is kind of just a little idea I'm going to follow through here, is that so the Venus and the Mars also will be making an opposition to Saturn, which is in Aquarius, and then a square to Uranus, which is in Taurus. And those are all fixed signs, right? Kind of stubborn signs. And so the Venus and Mars are like, yeah, my heart. And then Saturn's like, and kind of like thinking about what blocks do you have to your greatest desires? Like, what in you could trip them up? Do you have shame about what you want, or do you feel, you're selfish to want to be happy, or, have abundance, or you want to meditate more, and someone else wants you to, whatever, spend more time watching TV with them or something. And then the planet Uranus, kind of like, the Saturn can be how you block yourself, but Uranus can be how you distract yourself from things, how you're overly busy and don't get them done. And I'm a big fan of Dr. Daniel Amen, and he wrote Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and he's a psychiatrist that deals with how the brain functions, not just putting people on medicines, but he has something he calls the one-page miracle, where you write out what you most want to have in your life. And then at the bottom of the page you write, are my thoughts, decisions, and actions getting me what I want? Just pretty simple. But that's kind of the idea of the Saturn opposing the Venus and the Mars, and then the Uranus squaring. Like, do I, say if you want to lose weight, do you sit around and eat sweets all day? Then that's not going to help. Or do you say, well, I'm going to, eat more healthy food, but you're too busy and do all this extra stuff that isn't really that important, and then you just get DoorDash for dinner, something like that. So it's like, how can I create alignment? One of the best ways with Saturn is to think, I want to align with my highest desires, whatever they are, And how can you create a system? Because Saturn can also show you where you don't have a system in place to get what you want. And Uranus can be a breakthrough of ideas to see how you do gum yourself up or trip yourself up. I do that, like allowing yourself to have an aha, like, oh, I do that, and to be able to catch yourself somehow not allowing yourself to be happy, So then the follow-up to this is, as Venus and Mars then move into Virgo pretty quickly, in fact, they both move in later in July, and then even Mercury moves into Cancer, and so Mercury's our thinking, and then all of those three make positive angles to the planet Uranus and Neptune. Just leave Saturn out of it because Saturn's not quite in the picture. It is, but it isn't. So when we go through like July 20th, maybe even through August 20th, it's how these results can start to flow. So you can see where the flaw is in your system and why you just end up not having what you want, kind of thing. And then you go, I can make these changes here and there and kind of keep myself accountable and try things in a new way and see that I'm the one somehow holding this away from myself. And then see how the results flow when those planets, work better with each other. When I mentioned Neptune, Neptune is the one of feeling, you deserve good things, that things almost magically appear for you, and it's like you're living your dream. I also want to say, in the instance of someone else keeping you from it, it's being able to see a way where you can get out of difficult circumstances or make some sort of compromises with people so you have your own space for yourself to kind of blossom. Almost if there's like a tree that's keeping another tree from growing. How could that tree be trimmed so the smaller one can grow in the sunlight as well? And get your own sunlight. Used to say in America's Next Top Model when they did those groups of photos, to find your own light. You have to find your own light. So there's a way that you can work to find your own light amongst others, or stand up for yourself in some way, or that also can be illuminated too if it's not just your own self-sabotage thing. But you could find an aha moment, like that's the Uranus, and then seeing with the consistency, it's like, oh wow, like I'm really seeing changes, that can happen pretty quickly. So another thing is kind of relating to that is, of course, the sun signs in Cancer until it goes into Leo in July, but the planet, the sun, would be opposite Pluto. And Pluto can be about that power as well, and power issues, and the opposition can be a struggle, the clash of power, because the ego is the sun sign, and again, it's the desire. It has a lot to do with that same Venus, Mars being in Leo, and then the sun, even though it's in Cancer when it does that, just the sun itself is about that heartfelt, what you want. So that opposition from Pluto is, again, like standing up for your dreams, standing up for yourself, believing you deserve things, seeing a way around these obstacles that have popped up in your life, And that's going to be the sun and Pluto is like 16, like 15, 16, 17, 18 of the month. So you're kind of getting that in with the end of that Venus-Mars stuff with the Saturn and Uranus. So it's kind of in that same boat about knowing what you really want. And another thing with the Sun and Pluto, though, too, is making sure you still want it. And do you want it for yourself, or is it for other people, or is this an outmoded thing? And how could you adapt your passions? So it's all of that kind of folding into that. Another thing is that Jupiter, I've talked before about how the planets all go retrograde except the sun and moon, right? So Jupiter went retrograde back in, the end of June. And at the end of July, it pops back into Aquarius. So we had Jupiter, so most of 2021, Jupiter is in the sign of Aquarius. And Jupiter is a planet of abundance and just being in the flow of things, spiritual development, things like that. So Jupiter's in a sign for about a year because it has a 12-year orbit. But it popped into Pisces, let's say mid-May through the end of July, retrograding in between. Like it pops up and then, it goes retrograde, comes back. Just snuck into Pisces for a little bit, back into Aquarius. And, Pisces, it will go back into Pisces at the end of the year in December, but, Pisces is even more about that dream or what's possible, And when it goes back into Aquarius, it can help it actually happen. And again, sticking to your guns about it. Something about Pisces can be very ephemeral, and Aquarius is more like, we got this, we can do this, Another thing about the Jupiter coming back into Aquarius is enlisting friends to help you stay, kind of have a sort of a comradeship of people that support what you're doing, that you're creating your new life, that you're always improving, and that believe that things are possible, That's part of Aquarius and Pisces. But there's something about Aquarius that is like sort of meeting with people like that to reinforce it, because Aquarius is a fixed sign. It's a solid sign. So, maybe having once a week talking to friends and you support each other in what you're creating, and sort of holding each other accountable to not, doing those, lapsing back into old behaviors or something. And friends that know you that could illuminate other things you can do. And so sort of something like that. And then listing the people you already have in your life, maybe, because sometimes the funny thing about Aquarius is, feeling that you don't need that, like just to blaze the trail on my own. It's like, it's better to kind of feel your unique tribe is, even though you're doing unique things, you're kind of on that same path, and be able to have that interdependence. So not feel shy about reaching out to those people in your world who can be very supportive, even though they might be doing something else. There's a similar spirit, So not too long of a talk today with all of that, but I think this will be a fun month. And again, don't feel frustrated when that, especially that Mars, Saturn stuff, it can feel like nothing works for me, or just, and say, get a little curious about why isn't it working, or what's the block, and where could I have improved earlier. It's almost like, I just watched the Queen's Gambit, so I'm thinking about chess. But, when you get caught in something, the move you might have done was 2 moves back, and then that happened, and you got checkmated or something, or checked or whatever. And so it's kind of like going, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be up against this wall. And I can, since I do this all the time, now I know not to do that. And I'm gaining wisdom from it rather than just, again, So having that, one of the good things about those planets being in Leo is kind of a encouragement, and feeling that your heart will do this again, that you just, all right, let's try again, and I have more wisdom now. So using that instead of a sense of frustration that could pop up. So if you like a reading with me, alunamichaels.com, you can find me there. My number, and I have it below the YouTube, 248-583-1663. You can text me about setting up a session. I do have my book on Amazon Kindle, The Spiritual Gifts of the 12 Astrological Signs. And I will enjoy talking about August when that comes up. And bye-bye for now.